Good evening, and welcome to this session on promoting sustainable coastal tourism. And this session, of course, has a special focus on the role of sustainability education for sustainable coastal tourism. Now, many of us, of course, love to go to beaches, but the coast is not only sun and sand. Coastal regions harbor really diverse ecosystems and habitats. These are beaches, which we love to go to, sand dunes, but also rocks and cliffs, mangroves, estuary mouths, paddy fields, backwaters, lagoons. It's a highly diverse coastline that we have all across the world. And coastal regions are also such regions that provide really multiple ecosystem benefits, including fodder, food, bioshields, living habitats, nursery and breeding grounds, and of course, tourism. Today, we are going to be talking about tourism. It contributes to the economy and the livelihood of local communities and service providers. It provides opportunities for recreation, as well as learning about biodiversity and nature. Now, when tourism is not properly managed, unfortunately, it has an adverse impact on the very features and the ecosystem services that give coastal ecosystems their beauty and charm and productivity. Improperly managed tourism activities can result in congestion of coastal habitats and coastal towns, can disrupt economic activities, other livelihood activities. But if well managed, sustainable coastal tourism, it can synergize recreation and several other activities that happen in the coastal region. And it can also really enhance conservation efforts because it is bringing in an economic return into conservation. So to explore just how, what are some experiences of sustainable coastal tourism, and what kind of capacity building is needed to be able to foster sustainable coastal tourism management? And what are the opportunities also for education, environmental education, fostering a love for nature, understanding maybe issues of climate change, etc., for the visitors, for the tourists, for the local community? That is what we would really like to explore. And we have with us a really experienced set of colleagues on the panel who have been really doing grassroots work with sustainable tourism management, as well as with the associated educational and capacity building efforts and approaches, and looking at really a networked system of management standards and benchmarking. And so I'd like to share with you now who our panelists are. Just going in alphabetical order by first name, I'd like to introduce to you Johan Duran. He is the Blue Flag International Acting Director with the Foundation for Environmental Education. And he is running the iconic Blue Flag, which is one of the most recognized global voluntary awards for beaches, marinas, and tourism operations. And as such, environmental education is very much an integral part of the Blue Flag. So Johan will be talking to us about the Blue Flag Awards system and how it is leading to coastal conservation as well as sustainable tourism and education. We have Kerry McLean. She's joining us from the Eastern Cape in South Africa, and she's project manager for sustainable tourism with WESA, that is the Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa. And Kerry is passionate about the South African coastline, especially the wild coast in the Eastern Cape, which is very rich in biodiversity, cultural heritage, and low impact tourism potential. Kerry's, been talking about the increasing challenges that the Cape has been facing, and that is really what has been driving and motivating her work on the protection of this coastline through the experience that she will especially share, which is on youth skill development and environmental education and community engagement and sustainable tourism development. And then we have Sujit Dongre, my colleague from Center for Environment Education. He is program coordinator, and he's also the national operator for Blue Flag in India. And Sujit has been working on coast and marine and forest related education and community programs in Goa, in India for the last 22 years. And he's been especially supporting a sea turtle conservation education program in Goa, and along with the Forest Department. And he's also in the Coastal Regulatory Zone Committee of Goa State. And he'll be also sharing his experiences of fostering the Blue Flag in India. So I'm really happy to have you all here, and welcome to the panel. So we will just be starting with maybe Johan sharing an international experience. What we are really looking for is that how is sustainable coastal tourism fostered, and what goes into capacity building and education for the different stakeholders and for visitors and the community. So we'll start with Johan, who provides a case study of an international dimension program, which is the Blue Flag. And so Johan, let's start with you.
Thank you very much, Sanskriti. Thank you. So I will share my screen and hopefully it's gonna work. All right. So again, thank you very much, Sanskriti, and thank you the Mobius Foundation for having us today and to be able to deliver some key information and case studies about the Blue Flag program at different level. So I'm Johan, I'm the International Acting Director for the Blue Flag, and I'm based in Copenhagen, Denmark. So greetings to all our guests watching us today. I will divide my presentation in two parts. One, focusing on the Blue Flag itself, what it is, who we are, what are the stakeholders, and how we function. And then the education part, how do we deliver education from an international point of view, and the network system we have put in place, and how we work or how we ensure local processes and fostering communication and exchanges at the local communities level. So without waiting, the Blue Flag. The Blue Flag, this is a framework for sustainability in the public and the private sector, but this is also a tool for sustainability education in coastal areas and also inland sites, lakes, rivers, and so on. This is a voluntary award. This is important to note, as no site worldwide is obliged to apply for the Blue Flag. Only the ones willing to do the extra mile would join the network. And every year, more and more and more local communities and applicants join the network. A bit of who we are. We are part of one of the 5 programs of the Foundation for Environmental Education. We are based in Denmark. We are a non-profit, non-governmental organization. We work with a network of over 100 members based in over 70 countries, and we deliver education to sustainable development, climate change education through 3 school-based programs, eco schools learning about forests, and the Young Reporters for the Environment programs, and 2 tourism-based programs, the Green Key, looking at the hospitality sector, and the Blue Flag. And this is why I'm here with you today. So the Blue Flag, we provide international voluntary awards for beaches, marinas, and tourism boats activities through strict sets of criteria with an important national network of operators for local sites on the coastline and sometimes inland. A bit of history. It all came from a French idea back in 1985, an environmental education activity, actually. It was looking at the effects of the ocean current and the potential pollution from one single location and the impact that could have on different parts of the world on coastline. And very quickly, 2 years after that, that idea has been transformed to promote and provide the very first eco-label looking at sustainable tourism. And today, we do have over 4,800 sites flying the blue flag across 49 countries, and more countries implementing the blue flag as we speak. As you can see, we are truly global, so you can find the same standards of excellence in South Africa, in Norway, in India, or in Chile, or all the way up to Canada. But we don't do that alone. As I said, we do work with our network of members, but also institutional partners, because Blue Flag, this is also bringing education, science education. So we do work with a network of institutional partners that bring us knowledge and science for us to build up our criteria. A few examples that you may know: the UN World Tourism Organization, the UN Environmental Program, UNESCO, among others. Through different procedures, and this one, the award procedure, all local sites must go through an application process every single year with a national review and international award. We ensure that all the criteria are met during the season. On top of this application process, we do go on site every single year on every single site, making sure that as part of the education, looking at how to fill in the application, what do we need to do on site to comply with our criteria, there is, let's say, not only the carrot of flying the blue flag, but also the stick that if the site doesn't comply with the criteria at any time during the season, the flag may be withdrawn for the rest of the season. So we do have education, but also a strict process of respecting the rules and the criteria for local communities and tourists alike, that they do expect to receive the highest standards through the blue flag. So about education, few points. We do many things, but what I would like to focus today, this is on one part, the global sets of criteria at the international level, and for the past 30 years, and every other year we are improving and adding criteria in regards to environmental education and information, environmental management, water quality, safety and services, social responsibility, responsible operation around wildlife. This is for what? This is to provide guidance, recommendation on how to provide environmental education activities, coming from recommendations from UNESCO, for example, through international education guidance. All our sets of criteria are mandatory for all sites. At national level, this is not possible to go lower than that. National members can make the sets of criteria stricter, or they can add some criteria according to local context and needs in regards to maybe different ecosystems, maybe different biotopes that would need special care. For example, we do have criteria about mangroves or turtle nesting conservation. And here, based in Denmark, we do not have this type of ecosystems, but it doesn't mean that sensitive areas should not be protected. So through our sets of criteria and focusing on local biodiversity, it is possible to put in place education and conservation efforts in different countries. Another way for us to provide education, this is to build capacities for our national members, exchanging best practices, workshops, replicability of activities. Every year, we bring all our members worldwide to exchange and raise awareness and provide knowledge and also educational activities for them to be able to advise and help local communities applying for the blue flag to provide the best educational activities possible. I do not know how great I'm doing with the time, so I don't want to rush too fast. But
You're
I'm
fine, Johan. Yeah, just continue. Yes, you're
okay,
doing well.
very well. I think I have my last slide afterward. Um, and what is very important for us, this is a very harsh slide. I'm not gonna go into details, but this is what I would like to focus today, especially. This is our holistic approach. With the blue flag, we are looking at local communities, municipalities applying marinas, and at the very local, what we provide with this international standard, international framework, looking at sustainable tourism, but also education towards sustainable development. Through our holistic approach and this whole institutional approach, we are able to help local communities, local blue flag management system to educate towards criteria, respect of the law, or every single criteria they need to put in place, bringing them education towards self-reviewing what they've been doing for the past years and how to improve, bringing also a sense of self-accountability. If we want to apply for the blue flag, we need to respect the rules and what we can do better. For the local communities, starting the implementation of the blue flag, this is how they start caring. And when you start caring, you share this feeling with others and the will to educate others. That's another point which is important in these 5 different pillars. This is also the way through administrative, technical, and economical organizational practice that we bring everybody around the table. In different sectors, it could be also in the tourism sector, if I take, for example, the hospitality sector or the public sector, it is quite often many silos and people don't talk to each other. Through the blue flag, we bring an educational system where we bring the educational department within a municipality, working with the recycling department and working with the safety department, all working together towards the same goal, protecting the coastline and providing the best experience for local beachgoers, but also international tourists. And at the end, through this program, we are able to provide an international set of criteria and international standards, but it is, how can I put it? It's been designed to respect culture, to respect the social aspects, and to include everybody to ensure that the same excellence, the same criteria are provided all around the world, but through an implementation that are made by the locals, for the locals, and bringing together international tourists as well. I hope I was clear. I would be happy to take further questions afterwards. And I would like already take the opportunity to thank my colleagues as well to provide some case studies and best practices towards this approach that may look a bit horrible on screen, but that does work on the ground. Thank you very much.
Johan, thank you so much. And yes, I mean, that complicated slide is certainly, but what you said earlier, it was very clear. And the explanation that you gave while apologizing for what was on screen with the last slide, but I think that is absolutely great. And we can go to see how this this framework of the blue flag has actually been implemented. And I think that provides a sort of a complementary picture, a complementary case. So I'd like to go to Sujit now to see how the International Blue Flag Award program has now been implemented in India. And Sujit, I'd really like you to share how you have, in fact, looked at capacity building and fostering local education programs as well. And the whole, of course, the whole experience of introducing Blue Flag into India over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Sanskriti. I'll just share my slide. Okay, thank you. John has already given overview of what the blue flag and how it actually works across the globe. I thought I'll just give India-specific learnings and how education has actually played an important role in taking blue flag to various places, and how have community has benefited at the same time. Blue flag also has actually helped in improving both the local livelihood as well as the ecological spaces of the Indian beaches. If you look at India, I'll be talking more about Indian scenario. If you look at India, Indian beaches, we have almost about 7,500 kilometers of coastline. And the coastal areas are very unique in terms of various kinds of ecosystems. We have estuaries, we have backwaters, mangroves, beaches, and sand dunes. These are all, the microclimatic areas where, the coastal area has such kind of ecosystem. The biodiversity, if you consider combined with rich cultural and heritage of coast, makes it not only a popular tourist area, but also an area that requires careful environmental management, because the systems that we have on the coastal areas are both vulnerable, as well as they're very fragile in terms of any changes that occurs to those systems. The several issues, as Sanskriti has already spoken about, we have unfortunately across the globe seen the unplanned tourism leading to loss of both wild and domesticated biodiversity. We also have erosion of traditional knowledge and lifestyle. And these are some of the issues, I think, when we implement any program. I think it is very important for all of us to actually address these very fundamental questions that occurs in the minds of a planner and also the environmental conservators. While efforts, of course, need to be made at several local level, but at the same time, the environmental education becomes very important, because environmental education is a channel, or basically it's a driver which takes to a desired goal. So environmental education has actually played a very important role, and also, of course, it is going to be playing very important role in terms of understanding the complexity of the ecosystem, at the same time implementing certain actions with understanding of that particular ecosystem is very essential. So therefore, environmental education, or so education for sustainable development, or for that matter, you can also call it sustainability education along the coastline, is very important. Blue flag has environmental education as a very integral component. What attracted to India to have a blue flag award? Of course, we at the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India level, or Government of India level, we are basically talking, about how do we manage our coastal resources. And the Government of India has initiated a large program called Sustainable Coastal Management Initiative, wherein the government is actually looking at implementing various programs which takes towards conservation goal, at the same time help community increase its livelihood livelihood avenues. So therefore, in order to actually achieve those goals, the ministry identified a blue flag is one entry level program wherein we can actually take the blue flag in order to develop our coastal areas in a sustainable manner. In order to have the pilot phases, the ministry thought we should we have only about 13 beaches, because we have about 13 states and union territories. So each state and union territory will have one beach on a pilot phase, so that once we understand and learn how blue flag is actually is helping the objective with which the Government of India started, and then perhaps I think we can replicate. So in order to take this concept to the local level or the state level, because India is a federal country, we have so many state governments, district administration, then we have municipal councils, we have panchayat level. So in order to address, in order to take all the stakeholder in confidence, the Ministry of Environment organized several conferences, several stakeholder meetings, and the the Blue Flag International, as well as the national operator here in India, Center for Environment Education, myself and Sanskriti, helped the ministry in organizing such kind of a training, organize such kind of a discussion, so that everyone understands the very essence and also what the objective with which the Blue Flag is being implemented across the globe. So there's as I said, we have 13 pilot sites. Each of the pilot sites have actually worked with the local government, and the private partnership, private people also were involved in developing the beach facilities. As we know that the Blue Flag has very stringent criterias, 33 criterias, which are very difficult to comply with in a year's time, because it mandates to have 20 water samplings over a period of 4 years. What India did was also, because we were very committed to having Blue Flag, we wanted to develop beaches in a manner which actually helps both conservation as well as protecting the natural resources along the coastal areas. Fortunately, we worked almost about 2 years, and within 2 years, we were in a position to get almost 8 beaches out of 13 beaches that we have worked and on a pilot basis. But 8 beaches were ready to apply for the final award, and we are very happy that India also achieved the Blue Flag. And currently, we are about 8 beaches. Gujarat has one beach. We have Diu has one beach. Karnataka has 2 beaches. Kerala has one beach. Radhan, Andaman Nicobar has one beach. Andhra Pradesh has one beach. Puri has one beach. So these 8 beaches, what it opened up the idea of Blue Flag in the country. And it is not just the government people or the ministry people talking about it the initial, but now today every individual on these coastal areas, most of the people, because since we got this Blue Flag, it also led to a lot of debate, a lot of discussions. People started writing about Blue Flag, its best practices. We also developed a lot of documentaries, all those kind of things. And now in India, large number of people are aware that Blue Flag is such award which is contributing towards A, enhancing the local livelihood, B, it is also helping protect the coastal resources, C, it is also very important because, as I said, Goa, India, it has biologically very rich beaches, because Blue Flag focuses on beach system. But what we did over a period of 1 or 2 years, when we got this Blue Flag award, we are also trying to diversify tourist experiences, because it is not just beaches, but also India also has different types of both built and as well as natural heritage sites. For example, we have forts, we have temples, we have so many different systems. What we are also trying to create awareness among the people that yes, Blue Flag is something that actually attracts the local tourists. Yes, you have to have an experience of Blue Flag beaches on the beaches, but also we have several things for you to explore. So what the Blue Flag also has helped us in reaching out to those places, so that the pressure of the beaches is also reduced, so that people also get larger experiences of visiting that space in the name of Blue Flag. So we have been able to achieve that. Now, Blue Flag, as I said, the sustainability education is an integral part, and we have been able to do that. The different types of education that we are conducting all along the Blue Flag beaches with respect to biodiversity conservation, because as I said, our beaches in India, since we are a tropical country, our beaches are very rich in terms of biodiversity they host. We have education with respect to waste management. Every beach, Blue Flag beach, has its own unit of waste management unit, where the wet waste and the dry wastes are being collected, and the waste is being composted and being used in order to develop our sand dune vegetation. Here in terms of creating waste management, because if you see the experience of blue flag, the beaches experience blue flag and beach experience after getting blue flag with respect to waste management is tremendous. Many people who are now visiting to these beaches are appreciating the fact that beaches are beautiful, beaches are very, very clean. And what we as a national operator, the Ministry of Environment has been able to do is, organize several rounds of education and awareness activities on waste management. Now we have almost about 20 risk levels are talking about how education is not just talking about the tourist and community, but what the Ministry of Environment also did was we run a national program called National Green Core Program in the schools. The schools were actually attached to the beaches, all 20 or 30 schools which are in the periphery of that particular beach. They were made part of that beach ecosystem. So the students used to come to the beaches, do a projects on issues related to waste management, biodiversity conservation, and also tourist behavior aspects. So this education it has actually become more of a formal education where the schools were certainly part of learning from the blue flag experiences. But of course, the local community is important, and the community was also part of education and awareness programs that we used to do that. Now, of course, the safety and all. If you look at Indian beaches today, blue flag is it comes out actually because blue flag has achieved all those kind of standards. You visit the blue flag and non-blue flag, people are not now feeling the differences actually. People are feeling the differences, because it is so clean. People are helping, there is a safety is there, and there is environmental education, so everything is encompassing. So therefore, the experience of blue flag to the country has actually helped in bringing people to these areas and understanding what the ecosystem service that we actually derive from the beach ecosystem without actually hampering the resources. One of the things that environmental management that we did is, most of these places have dunes. The beaches have dunes, and what the people, especially the volunteers who are there on the blue flag, have identified these dunes and helped this dune, plant certain species. For example, this is the Ipomia species, which is a climber, and they have actually planted. And once these species are planted, they have actually guarded this area and allowing this species to take over, so that environmental management of the beaches becomes very essential. Because since these species help the sand to bind, so therefore erosion of the beach is very minimized. So what we as a national operator and the Ministry of Environment and also local administrative did is, we had almost about 1 month training course for all the beach managers, including the local communities and all. During the pandemic time, we had the virtual these things, and also when I used to go, me and my colleague, we used to have a training program for all these people on how one can manage the beaches in terms of its biodiversity conservation. At the same time, it is also very important to look at it. In order to encourage the beach managers and the communities, we started something called competition. All these 8 beaches will have a competitions. Which beach will have a greater sand dune vegetation? So that kind of a motivation, that kind of a competition actually helped the local communities, local beach managers, in order to identify these beach stretches, and they have actually protected. And if you go to all the blue flag beaches, one of the thing that you can see is beach is completely green, and all the beaches are properly managed in terms of its waste management, biodiversity, safety, and all those kind of things. This is a very, very interesting case I want to highlight. This beach is Yuvrajpur in Gujarat. This dune you can see now it is completely with grasses and local vegetation. Once upon a time, it was under tree cover called type, which was exotic trees were planted on these dunes. Now, what we basically did is we gradually removed those exotic plants, and now allowed this species to come up actually. Today, if you go and see this dune ecosystem, it's full of sand dunes, and we have recorded almost about 20 different species of a native species which are native to sand dunes have actually come back, and so therefore the dune restoration has actually happened. And this is possible because of the local people. All these people who are actually working on these dunes are all from the local communities. We have trained them in identifying and making this thing. With the help of the local communities and the beach management, we have been able to restore the once the sand which was under the foreign vegetation species. So those kind of a classic examples that we have in order to show that the blue flag is not just coming and enjoying. That blue flag is beyond what we actually can conventionally think of. Blue flag, we for India, blue flag is actually an opportunity for us to restore our beaches and also convert them into an ecological spaces where people come enjoy and learn about what the ecosystem service value that we get. Most of this you can see the informations are put up on all the beaches so that people will know which is the places where we should go, where are the facilities available. We also have several things. Now, if you look at this cleaning operation happens, we as in India, because I said we are a tropical country, we don't want to use any mechanical means of cleaning because our beaches are very, very biologically very active. Every cleaning that happens is manual. People will go pluck, take the waste. Most of this waste today, if you see, the experience of waste generated on the beaches pre-blue flag and after blue flag, there is huge reduction of the waste itself actually. So that's what education has been able to achieve that. We also have grey water treatment plant. Whatever the water that is generated by using this flushes and all this thing, that actually goes back to the grey water treatment plant, and that is actually purified. And again, the water is being used for the plantation purpose. So this is how we have been doing. This is the toilet facilities that we have. You may not be able to see what the toilet because it's a beautiful structure. We have been able to do that because our vegetations are there. Wherever possible places that we have got, we have put these toilet facilities so that people can enjoy these things. So this is the cleanliness that we have. People are now appreciating that the wonderful places where we have such beautiful facilities. And thanks to the blue flag, and blue flag has actually taken us beyond the conventional understanding. And we are looking at blue flag as a unit for a conservation and protection of coastal resources. Of course, this kind of a safety, which unfortunately was never there in India, blue flag has been able to introduce. We have disabled friendly thing. People are actually helping a person to swim in the water. We have the buoys, we have safe swimming zone demarcated. So those kind of things are greater experiences that we have, and the people are appreciating. And everything that what you are seeing has actually happened through education, actually happens through training and capacity building. Every person who is on the beaches are completely trained and capacity is built so that that nothing untoward incidences happen. Of course, the safety of all these things. These are all mock drills that we every 3 months we conduct this mock drills so that our lifeguards are trained and they're updated with the information and all. In terms of segregation of waste management, we don't allow the waste, especially the biodegradable waste, go out of our beaches. Is basically completely segregated, and the segregation again training has been done. People are well trained in identifying different waste. Plastic is going, metal is, everything is going, and we're completely segregating. And those waste which has economic value are being sold so that the money is again coming back for our beach management. This is completely under the CCTV. We have the control on the beaches. She is the one who actually creates alarm so that people go and listen. So this is how blue flag has actually brought a larger understanding about ecological conservation, and education, of course, has played a very, very important role. And we are now whatever 8 beaches that we have got blue flag award. Now we are actually expanding to various places, And people are now voluntarily coming up, asking that blue flag be required. I'm very happy. One of the state government in India, Tamil Nadu, in their budget speech itself, they have earmarked certain amount of money to develop 5 beaches as a blue flag award beaches actually. So that means what we have been able to do for last three years is actually
finding fruition. Yes.
A very, very important role in it.
Thank you, Sujit. So, Kerry, I'd like to invite you to speak about the work that you've been doing in the Eastern Cape and with the youth program that you have recently initiated. Over to you, Kerry. Yes.
I'm sorry to cut Sajid short. All right, I'll share my screen quickly. Right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I think it's a really wonderful panel to start with the international perspective of FEE and then on a local level, how it's being implemented in India. And this is just a slightly different take on a very similar program. And in fact, it's certainly modeled on Blue Flag. So just to give you a little bit of background, WES is a very old NGO. It's over 94 years old, and we've been implementing conservation and education programs for 94 years. But yeah, in 2001, we were one of the first countries outside of Europe to become, to take on Blue Flag, and WES was the national and has been the national operator for Blue Flag ever since then, and it's been 20 years. So in that 20 years, we learned a lot, and we also learned of the successes of Blue Flag. But we did notice that there was a bit of a gap. We have a large section of coastline, which is more wild and more rural, with beaches that would really battle to meet the Blue Flag criteria. And so the Green Coast Award was developed by WESA, very much modeled on the Blue Flag concept. In 2015, we partnered with the Department of Tourism to implement the Tourism Blue Flag project, and then 3 years later, the Tourism Green Coast project. And both of those projects really have a big focus on youth skills development. So we target unemployed youth that are living in these coastal sites. For the Tourism Blue Flag project, these are your beach stewards. And for the Tourism Green Coast project, we call them Green Coast stewards. Right, so just to give you a little bit of background as to where we piloted this program, we focused on the Wild Coast, which is a stretch of coastline in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. Absolutely beautiful, wild area with amazing biodiversity, incredible natural beauty, cultural heritage, and as Sanskriti mentioned in the introduction, a huge potential for low impact nature-based tourism. So just to give you a little sense of where we're at, where the Eastern Cape is, and those were our sites, 21 sites, pilot sites. So what were we trying to achieve in the long term? Really, we are looking at trying to promote inclusive, sustainable livelihood development in these rural coastal communities. This word inclusive is very important for us in South Africa because of our past and our history, and we're really needing to transform various sectors in South Africa, including tourism. But we also want to, with this program, accrue long-term benefits to both people and the environment. All right, so just to give you a little sense of what the model looked like, we had obviously our civil society organization, that being WESA, with funding, very generous funding from the department. And we recruited 120 youth from coastal communities from those 21 sites to take on the role as Green Coast stewards. We also partnered with tourism businesses. These were tourism businesses that are well established in these 21 sites because we wanted to focus on sites that have a bit of a tourism footprint already. So for the duration of the program, which was 2 years long, these youngsters were hosted by these tourism businesses where they, so WESA provided a very in-depth education and training program, which I'll get into detail after this, but they were also provided with workplace experiential learning and transfer of skills from professionals in the tourism business. And not only the skills, but just a deep knowledge of tourism in that area. We also trained the stewards to work with and support local schools to become eco schools. They were also introduced to the other programs that Johan mentioned, the young reporters for the environment and the forest one. And the other thing that we focused on was training them around the Green Coast criteria so that they could support their site, their beach, to get close to being able to apply for the Green Coast Award. And over the 2 years, we did a lot of stakeholder engagement, community facilitation, and we looked for sites within those 21 sites, you know, where are there grassroots civil society organizations and willing municipalities that would be able to work together to apply for the Green Coast Award. So I just want to talk a little bit more about the actual learnership program. So the training component, which was really obviously a very integral and very important part of the program. So we offered an accredited course, which was the tourism guiding qualification. So that's the sort of equivalent of a national certificate here in South Africa. And this accredited guiding qualification allows them to, once they finish it, allows them to register with the provincial authority to become registered guides. So they not only gaining skills, they're actually gaining access to being an accredited guide. And then complementing this formal training, we had quite a vast range of sort of non-accredited workshops where we brought in skills and competencies that we felt would really help them, you know, on their personal and professional journey, and also keep supporting and feeding back into sustainable tourism development in their areas. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a run through of the kind of training that they did over and above the formal training. So they were introduced to life saving, and they did an accredited first aid course. We spent a lot of time training them on marine and coastal ecology, introducing them to the different habitats, the sensitive species, and quite amazing to see, you know, they live in these areas, but they confess that they never noticed or never took notice, you know, of all these wonderful things around them. They were also taught how to use the tools and the protocols of citizen science monitoring, which is a very important component of Green Coast. So they were taught how to monitor the different habitats. Here we've got them monitoring the rocky shores, and also being introduced to sort of technology, you know, using cell phones and using different apps to monitor their environment. Just another example here. Getting involved in coastal cleanups, monitoring what they collect. And then on the right there, we've got a shell midden, so keeping track of those, mapping all of these things out. And here we've got, this was after a workshop with one of the schools. So they were trained around, you know, the principles of environmental education and how to design and implement and facilitate environmental education programs. We also promoted a sense of community service. So we really encouraged them to become ambassadors, you know, within their communities and getting involved with cleanups, working with the schools, planting trees, all sorts of things they got involved in. And sustainable practices were showcased throughout. They went to different host organizations that were doing really cool things in their businesses, backpackers and lodges that were building with eco-bricks and doing recycling. And so we exposed them as much as possible to, you know, real life sustainable practices. We also brought in some entrepreneurship training because we do have a big problem in our country with not a lot of jobs, not enough jobs for our youth. So we really felt that we needed to try and give a boost to the youngsters that have that entrepreneurial mindset and encourage them to start their own businesses in their communities. So this was a entrepreneurship accelerator workshop. And then, of course, the Green Coast criteria. So really equipping them to be able to support grassroots organizations, municipalities to get their applications ready. So these guys actually at every single site, regardless of whether there was an active grassroots civil society organization or a willing municipality, they prepared an application portfolio. So every group of stewards at each site went through the process of preparing an application portfolio, which is ready and waiting should we get support from the municipalities further down the line. And this was a very proud moment. This was one of our first awarded sites, and you can see how happy they were to be part of that. So just very briefly, what did we achieve with this pilot after 2 years? We certainly felt that, and we could sense a big change amongst the group that came with us in the pilot. Huge amount of agency and confidence, and also just having a better sense of what they want to do with their lives, whether they wanted to go on to study more or to start a business or to pursue a job. We had 119 trained super guides. I call them super guides because they're more than just a guide. They can do environmental education, they can do ecological monitoring. So they're more than just a guide. Many of them did get jobs, and this is even in a COVID environment. So we were quite amazed at how many of them did manage to get jobs in tourism businesses. Not as many as we would like, but still not bad in the COVID environment. We had 7 youngsters who registered and started their businesses. These were businesses like kayak adventure tours, hiking, homestays, beading, baking, all sorts of things. And the stipend, so they earned a stipend every month, which assisted them with their living expenses for the duration of the program. And we were incredibly impressed with what they managed to do with their stipends. Some of them used the money to help establish their businesses, build rondavels as our mud huts, get their kayaks. Some of them paid off their student loans, but a very important cash injection into these 21 communities. Quite a few went on to study further. So by participating in the program, they discovered what they were passionate about and have gone on to study a variety of things: teaching, conservation, environmental management, all sorts of exciting things. So these are going to be our future leaders coming out. We also had 11 registered eco schools come out of the program. And we had a number of international coastal cleanup events, 35 that were implemented during the course of the pilot. And then quite a big thing, and I think this speaks to Johan's point around whole institutional approach, the partnerships that were fostered through the steering committee of the project, through partnering with the local municipalities, establishing partnerships between local civil society organizations and municipalities to drive or to go for the Green Flag Award, partnerships with local businesses, very, very important outcome of that. So in the end, we feel that we have piloted a scalable model for sustainable tourism development in a rural coastal context. And we're really looking forward to grow this program and expand it out if we're able to get the funding. That's always the thing. And that's essentially what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kerry. It's fascinating. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to your presentation. And there's a question I have. The engaged sort of conservation action kind of work that is happening with the stewards, are there opportunities also to involve visitors in such conservation action?
Oh, yes, definitely. So So these guys were hosted at tourism businesses, and part of their training, which was tourism guiding, you know, a lot of it was very practical. So they had to design their own guided experiences that obviously had a strong educational component. So they had to practice on guests that were coming, you know, to these businesses. But also in December, which is our busy tourism period, we encourage their host employers to let them go at least once a week down to the beaches, you know, with their uniforms on, and start talking to the visitors on the beach, interviewing them, talking to them, also doing cleanups as well, and just being very visible on the beaches. So definitely a lot of opportunity. There was a lot that we wanted to do and a lot of potential that we didn't quite have the time, but what some of the businesses recognized in terms of the value of Green Coast was that through Green Coast we could create educational materials, brochures, you know, maps with brochures, species lists, that would be a resource, you know, for all of the businesses in the area. And ultimately, what we would love to have seen, tourism is still pretty much at a standstill at the moment, but we would have loved to see our trained guides then partnering with the local businesses, and the local tourism businesses would send groups out to the local guides to, and because a lot of the businesses run their own activities, and we were trying to advocate for, you know, outsource those activities to the stewards rather. You know, they're getting their income from the accommodation and the food. You know, let's give this to the community members.
Who've been specially oriented to sort of conservation education and environmental education,
Yes.
thus giving both a livelihood as well as a much more enriched and valuable experience to the visitors, I think. So I hope, yeah, sorry.
No, I just said a local experience as well.
Yes,
you know,
of course. Yeah,
the local knowledge, the cultural knowledge as well.
Of course. And so I certainly hope that things will revive and that the stewards actually get a chance to do their thing. To ask if just in a few small phrase, if each of you want to share, you know, the one key thing which you feel is really the best practice in the education for sustainable coastal tourism, whether it's from the capacity building of managers or awards criteria, and you know, so Johan, starting with you.
Sure, thank you, Sanskriti. Well, the key takeaway information I would take from this presentation, that's speaking about Blue Flag, this is basically bringing local stakeholders, many of them around the same table, and get them to talk and understand each other, and maybe work on their different interests between environment, social, and in the economic sector. There can be different interests, and get them to work towards the same goal, having the Blue Flag. And then over a couple of years, when they have the understanding on running an international sustainable tourism award, they can go and they can go beyond, propose other projects such as the Tourism Green Coast. So I think this is really educating to, you know, sustainable democracy and talking to each other towards the same goal. That would be my takeaway information.
Thank you, Johan. Kerry, any key takeaway from the Eastern Cape experience?
Yeah, I think, well, to build on Johan, I think for us, having a long-term program as an anchor or an umbrella, such as Blue Flag or a Green Coast, I think is really important for us to be able to then, develop these other initiatives that kind of nest under that. But yeah, I think for us, the youth skills development and focusing a lot on the youth as the champions to really drive this thing forward and to start their businesses and to change things around is where we feel we can really get some success. So So I think for us, yeah, capacity building has to happen on all levels, and I think it would naturally in this kind of whole institution approach. But for us, we really want to focus on the youth and keep working with them and partner with them. You know, as they build their skills and start their businesses, we could continue to partner with them as we collectively build sustainable tourism.
Thank you, Kerry. Sujit, yes. What do you think is a key takeaway for EST in coastal tourism? Yeah, sustainability.
Yeah, my key takeaway is, of course, when you look at beach tourism in the state of Goa or in India, the blue flag actually is bought, the ownership of the beach itself, actually, because moment you develop that beach, the local community has felt, yes, this is my beach, because they've seen a drastic change what was pre-blue flag and after blue flag. So my key in India is A, it has been able to develop the local ownership. B, it is also very important to see, we have shown to the world that blue flag is not a tool to get tourism, but also it is an important tool to create awareness about the system itself. So that is something which we have been able to do that. So these two key learning that I feel are very important.
Thank you all. And just to sum up, I think we see that having a good multidimensional framework, multidimensional criteria framework, which is really guided by sustainability in its social, economic, and environmental dimensions, as well as this multi-stakeholder approach, which is fostered, looking at a local governance system for sustainable coastal tourism promotion, investing in youth capacities, and then also the demonstration effect of seeing visually and visibly the change that such an approach can bring. I think these are some really powerful things that you have shared today. So thank you all. Thank ICSE for this really great opportunity to showcase the work that we've been doing in sustainable coastal tourism. So thank you all for for the great wisdom that you've shared with us. So Dr. Schiff, we can close, I think, this session. Thank you so much.